I'd like to call the meeting to order.
For Lisa to be here.
Yeah, Lisa's in there. First of all, if there is an emergency, something happens, fire, whatever, you go out the way you came in, or to my left, there's an exit that'll take you right out to the parking lot. Okay? Roll call?
Chris Amper.
Here.
Lisa Kavanaugh.
Here.
Paul Flicker.
Here.
Michael Ruscher.
Here.
Cindy Moore and Adam Samples are excused.
Okay. Consideration of renewal lease with Walnut Hills for market rent. And can I get it first?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Do you want to go background? Or you want to do
Oh, we're going to do discussion. Discussion? Michael?
I mean, I don't think it's anything different than what the agenda is calling for and the reason why we're here. I mean, I'm hoping that the discussion here will clear up any confusion or misconceptions that maybe parents have or were told, and that this can be an amicable ending and decision. That's all I got.
Paul?
No comments.
No comment? Chris?
Yeah, I really don't have any comments.
Okay. Lisa?
I just kind of want to go on record as saying that I don't let my personal feelings interfere with my vote, but I'm a little disappointed that the way this was perceived to the city, that this was a last-minute thing that the city did, and that was not the case. So I just want to go on record as saying that I was a little disappointed about that.
Okay.
But other than that, we're here to move forward.
Okay. Brandon, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, I think that the mayor and I know some council members asked me to kind of give the background on why we got where we're at right now. And I think because there were some allegations that the city, wasn't transparent, didn't do things open, things like that. But actually there's provisions under Kentucky law, under Open Meetings Act, that allows a city, when you're engaging in proprietary property rights, issues like that allows a city to go into executive session. So a while back, about a year and a half ago, the city had gone into executive session to discuss the lease, much like they do with the lease for the building next door, maybe the lease they would do with if the city were going to purchase property, things like that. So a discussion had arose on whether or not the city, due to public safety, because of the police department being located not on the city campus. It doesn't happen often, but there are a fair number of times that unruly persons do come up to the city building, and right now the city is not manned with police on site. And that's always been a concern of the city, and Robin can attest to that. She's been here when that's happened before. The other thing to remember too, a lot of times it's just Robin and Ann working here by themselves. The other discussion was from a financial situation that the police department was outgrowing, and there was a discussion about need for a bigger space. So at that, the city had reached out and had a meeting to discuss whether or not they wanted to move into that building. Based on that, the direction was to at least give notice to the Walnut Hills, which the city in fact did. At that point in time, Walnut Hills approached us, the city, about doing and extending the lease or just keeping the lease for another year. It did have a yearly ability for either party to get out of the lease. And so the city did take action. There was a document that I think was posted online that outlined it was 1 year. So then fast forward to the other day, and what happened then was, and I understand this because I know a number of people here, I know I have small children, a number that attend there. I think that there was concern about the fact that there is a desire to have childcare in the city, and there's limited amount of daycare in the city. So after that meeting, and you have to remember too, I think a lot of people were concerned, well, council didn't say anything. A, it was a caucus meeting, and B, there was already a written agreement outlining what was to happen. But based on that, and the fact that obviously based on the number of people here, there was then a desire to re-examine it. So I think I usually get a text from him between 6:30 and 7 a.m. So just so people do know that, you are heard. I think I got a text from Steve and Angelo the very next day. I was asked to stop by. I know council members were reaching out. I know Michael, Paul, Lee, we've all, they've all reached out to me on, what's the agreement, what's, different things like that. So at that point, Angelo presented that, hey, what if this building is handled like we would if it wasn't city government, it was a private industry. How do we make this work? So at that point, we reached out to Walnut Hills, and literally, and Damon's here, we've been in contact pretty much every day since then. And so on Friday, we had reached an agreement, and that's what then, because obviously the mayor can make a recommendation, it's got to come to this body, and at that point in time, that's when we put together just what I'll call an agreement in principle on a lease, which you all do have in front of you. It may change a little bit. I know Walnut Hills needs to make sure their attorneys review it, but in principle, that would be the terms. We'll make a few, if we need to change a few things, we will. But to basically turn this thing into what I think the mayor called a win-win, whereby we can expand to build a police station here and also ensure Walnut Hills continues as well. And I know some of the parents I spoke to, they thought that probably the best thing to come of all that is just like Robin and the staff at the city will be safe by having the police on campus, Walnut Hills will also have the police on campus. So in that regard, it's probably a really good thing because anybody whose children are over there are going to have police on site. So, that's where it's at today. Council's made a motion in a second, assuming that they approve this, then that'll ensure that Walnut Hills is here. The other thing we did in this lease is, it is, instead of having the yearly ability to non-renew, it locks it in. That way, because I think one of the discussions that the mayor and I and Steve had with Walnut Hills are that if this decision is made to ensure that that thing remains a daycare, let's make sure it's always going to be a daycare to not allow to where it can be changed. And I know they're agreeable to that as well. So with that, I'll entertain any questions that anybody on the council has.
One question that I have is obviously the agreement that's in principle states obviously with the difference in, I'm going to call it what it is, lease payments, that monies will go towards building a new police facility for us. I want to ensure that no tax-paying money is going towards that. Because with having the opportunity that we had before us to do it with little to no cost, it's going to be very difficult to go to Cold Spring City taxpayers and say, because we made this decision to extend this lease, you guys are going to fork the bill for building a new police station. That's what I want to go on record to say, that if we've thought this through and that the monies, that the difference will indeed pay for that, I'm fine with that. But to go back to the citizens of Cold Spring and say, well, because of what's occurred,
Well, that's not going to happen, Michael, because what I foresee, with the police department moving here, with the income that we will derive from the building that is now the police department, along with bringing the childcare place
right.
up to market standard, we will have enough money to go forward.
Okay.
And the last thing, and let me say unequivocally, I do not want any money from the city of Cold Spring to supplement at all any childcare, because that just should be, and I agree with you 100%. So that's how I stand on it.
And the other thing you got to remember, some of the analysis the prior council went through was that also you had a police department that, due to budget, couldn't be manned by an office worker.
Right.
So people stopped by with questions and there was no one there, because you don't really want the police sitting in the office, you want them out. So that was one of the savings, that the office here could manage the administrative support
Right.
of the police department. So when you factor that in, Steve, that was a number you always used, wasn't it? Yeah. The savings from personnel. So I think Steve's crunched the numbers and he's confident with this. What we always envisioned with the rental of the building, where the police are now, the personnel savings and this, that the city will be able to afford the construction of the police department.
Okay.
Is that accurate, Steve?
Yes.
Paul?
I'm just wondering, okay, we were set to do this, back in 2017. How long is it going to take us now to get to a new police station, to get the funds to?
We haven't put it on the drawing board yet. When we originally talked about this, the caucus 2 years ago, we had offered Walnut Hills a number of different places to go to, a couple, and it wasn't suitable for them. So at that point, we were assuming that, the police, they were going to go and the police department was going to move in, et cetera, et cetera. But after 2 years, now we have to readjust. And I would say, and that's a guesstimate, I would say probably a year and a half, wouldn't you, Steve?
That would be a reasonable estimate at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, we at this point have not talked to an architect, we have not looked at the site, we have not done anything, so it will
Right.
take 3 to 6 months.
Just
for
kind of a
that process.
generalized question I've been asked,
Yeah,
okay.
but approximately 18 months would be a good guess.
Okay.
Chris, anything?
No.
Okay. Then, you have a roll call vote?
Michael Rusher,
Yes.
Paul Kloker,
Yes.
Lisa Kavanaugh,
Yes,
Chris Sanford.
Yes.
Okay. Any comments?
Public comment.
Sir,
Yeah.
Couple comments?
please come to the mic because we have a crowd and people will be able to hear.
Is that on? Yeah, slide the button in the back.
First off, thank you guys for reconsidering and considering our appeal from last week. Couple things. First of all, thanks to you guys. Thanks to, obviously, the support we've gotten over the last week has been overwhelming. We've gotten tons of, letters and emails and calls, and as you guys have too, we probably got the other side of some of those, but, and I apologize for that. But we can't thank you guys enough. Obviously, you play a big part of what we do, and we're so happy to be able to extend this for you guys. So thank you guys so much. Also, thanks to my, obviously, it's been an emotional week for us, for Beth. Certainly our employees, we thank them so much for sticking through this, and we know it's been tough on them. Just a couple things that I'd like to, specific to Ms. Kavanaugh's initial question about the perception that that it happened so quickly, that we didn't have that year and a half. We certainly acknowledge that we've been talking about this a year and a half, but we've also been negotiating a year and a half. We've been talking about a year and a half, and the reason we haven't, it's a business decision that we didn't tell our parents and tell our employees yet, because as you might expect, even this week when we found out that, when we thought that it was definite no about re-upping our lease, we've had multiple families already reach out to other daycares. So as a business decision, we didn't tell our parents a year and a half ago, and I apologize if that, but our thought was, if we would have done that a year and a half ago, maybe some folks would have left, and we wouldn't have been able to get you back if it did happen. So-
And the city,
Well, and-
including myself, and we talked about this, we did not want to put that information out, we did not want to hurt your business. And I was very confident, and I think all the council was too, and you maybe want to respond to that, Michael?
Yeah, I think the concern was, and believe me, I understand the business decision of it, because if you announce it January of 18,
Yeah.
many of these people aren't standing here right now.
Right.
I understand that. But if you look at a copy of the letter, there was no date on the letter that was sent to the parents or handed out to them, nor was there any verification that said, we were informed of this January 18, just to kind of give a backstory, because the way that the letter was written, I'm going to be defensive of council, made us look bad. Like that we had made the decision at caucus on Monday, and that we were giving you till January of this year, then you're out on the street, which wasn't the case. There were 18 total months where we allowed you to extend the lease, look for a new location, and things like that. So that was, and I don't know if I'm speaking for Lisa as well or everybody else, that's the way that I took it. Good, bad, or indifferent. I think had it just been a little bit of a backstory and saying, hey, we were informed, we're out on June 30th, then that's when all the upheaval started. That was just, again, my opinion.
And the 160 phone calls and
Yeah.
300 emails that I received,
Well-
it took me a while to answer them, and that's okay. That's what we get paid for. But again, I think with the council, and there's a couple that aren't here, I think that was the feeling like, hey, that's not true. We didn't just throw you out, and
Yeah.
made people feel like they
Well,
were thrown under
And
the
I can
bus.
understand that. There certainly wasn't any plan in that.
Yeah.
There wasn't any, ideal that we were going to well, let's make them look as bad as we can because we're on the way out. Certainly, I can guarantee you that
Okay.
didn't happen. I think it was probably in our haste to make sure at that point that time was of the essence, and we had to tell our parents, knowing that they would start looking very quickly, and we wanted to.
Again, to repeat, I think there was a misconception because I was very confident. I did not want, because people called me and they wanted to know why we weren't told, and et cetera, et cetera. And again, it was because I had an agreement, and I was very clear that we did not want to put that information out. We did not want to hurt your business.
Right,
So-
and we appreciate that.
Okay.
And quite frankly, what we considered negotiation did not end until Monday. I mean,
No. Okay.
part of our decision to come back was new administration, or there were new people. Maybe something had changed in that
Yeah.
turnover to the new administration. And we started trying to plan this meeting back in January or so, and we got on it in March. So we weren't dragging it out. We were looking for that answer that we got, on Monday.
And to follow up, one of the reasons too why the mayor chose to call a special meeting quickly, and I know I had told Damon this, I had heard from other daycare, that, obviously the employees were looking for work, so you and I had the discussion that we needed to get something, that was why I think Angelo went ahead and issued a statement. He wanted to get something out there to make sure that, because obviously it's people's jobs, and I also know there were many families calling around to find alternative care, that we didn't want to, I think he didn't want to wait until a regular meeting, because if this was going to happen, you need to let the families know sooner rather than later.
And I want to reiterate, we've been here 25 years. We've had a great relationship with the city for 25 years. So I certainly don't want a week's worth of turmoil to end the goodwill or affect the goodwill we've built up over 25 years with the city as well as the community, obviously. So, I think that's all I've got.
Thank you, David.
If there's any,
All righty.
I just want to
questions I
say
can
that I
answer.
think that the amount of people here that have showed up tonight is a testament to you guys and to the good work and to the great care that you give kids. I mean, my kids are grown and adults now, but I think that this turnout says a lot,
yeah, I mean,
in
that's,
response for what you guys do on a daily basis, so.
this is mostly, and our teachers as well. I mean, this is all her work. One thing that this meeting has spoiled for me potentially is my anonymity. Some of these folks didn't know who I was. I was the silent guy in the back. So now the
Well, I want you to know, Damon, that I'm here every day, and myself and the staff, we love seeing those little guys, and
Good.
I mean, they're really,
You don't know
really,
some of them as well as we do.
they're so cute.
Especially at trick or treat time.
Oh, man, hi, how are you? And it's just a riot to watch them, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you very much.
thank you, Damon. Anyone else? Okay. Meeting's adjourned.